It's been a while, so I think it's time to crank out another episode, the sixth episode of the Holland Impact. My name is Christian Holland, and I'm glad you are with me and listening and taking some time to give me some attention. So here we go. I sincerely apologize for those of you who are loyal Hollandites. It's We're just wrapping up midterms here at my college, and I have felt like I'm drowning. So I finally have the chance to just catch up and complete homework for the next few weeks. So I got a head start on some assignments today, and I'm like, you know what? I haven't done one of these in a minute, so I better get on it. My wife and I just celebrated a year of being together. It's been a year since we started dating and started calling ourselves boyfriend and girlfriend. So I thought I would share with you guys how we met. So we have a mutual friend. Her name is Ashley. And Ashley became one of my good friends because she and I had a introductory statistics course that we were both taking last year around the same time. And her roommate is actually my wife, or was. They were roommates. Now I'm her roommate. So Ashley comes to me one day and says, "Hey, it's my birthday this Friday. Do you want to come have sushi with me and my roommates and some mission friends?" And I was like, well, I don't really like sushi, but I'll come along, I'll, get like a water or something. Or what else do they have at this sushi place? Yeah, I'll come along. So I show up and I'm sitting down at this table, a bunch of people I don't know, except a few people. Ashley, for one, because she was in my statistics class, but also a good friend of ours, Amber, who was another one of Ashley's roommates. And I had an English class with Amber. So I show up and I'm like, "You look so familiar." And she's like, "Were we in Brother Hatch's advanced writing and research course?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that was you." So anyway, that was kind of a cool, meeting people that I haven't seen in a minute. So then I noticed that there's this empty seat in front of me, and I'm like, are we missing someone? And then all of a sudden, this 5'4", blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl sits down in front of me, and I notice right off the bat her eyes. I'm like, wow, those are eyes, yeah. So then the waitress comes over, and she had taken all of our orders, but since Kaylin had come in late, she didn't have an order and she didn't have food, like a drink yet. So the waitress is like, "Oh, what can I get you to drink? I see you just came in late. What can I get you to drink?" And Kaylin is from Georgia, so she's got the deep Southern accent. So she's like, and I always butcher how she said it. But she said, "Could I get a water?" But it didn't come out water. It came out like water, like how some of us say like quarter. That's how she said water. So when she said, "Could I just get a water?" I was like, "Oh, she's not local, is she?" So I'm just like, "So where are you from?" Turns out she's from Georgia, and up until this point, I didn't even know that they were roommates. So the next day when I tried to see her again, I went over to their apartment after work because the following night, after the last night after we had dinner, we had gone back to their apartment to like play card games and watch a movie. Excuse me. And I'd left my games there on purpose so I could come back the next day and be like, hey, I need to pick them up. Oh, by the way, what do you guys, Kaylin, what are you doing right now? So anyway, so I went back over and Ashley and Kaylin are like about to head out to a church meeting that they're going to. And I was like, oh, I just came back to get my games. And I'm also going to Costco and Chick-fil-A if you guys want to come with me. So Ashley looks at Kaylin and like gives her like the, and Kaylin's like, it's a boy, like, yeah. So I didn't know this at the time, but because I'm a boy and boys aren't very observant of like we're sometimes clueless. Sometimes you got to give us a little more line. You gotta put more bait on the end of that hook for us to be like, oh yeah, and then we were on it. So she had been avoiding eye contact with me that entire time because she's very nervous around boys. And I kind of was flattered at that. I was like, oh, I make her nervous. I don't know if that's weird or like creepy, or I don't know if she was like attracted to me or whatever, but later on I did find out that she was very, very attracted and she was tongue-tied. So we go to Chick-fil-A in Idaho Falls because that's the only place where we can get the mac and cheese that Chick-fil-A has to offer. The Chick-fil-A on campus here at BYU Idaho unfortunately doesn't have the mac and cheese, and it ticks me off. I'm going to write a letter to whoever's in charge and be like, yo, can we get that? Can we get that mac and cheese now, please? So the entire time we're going down to Idaho Falls and coming back, our entire trip maybe took like 2 hours, like there and back. Like getting there is only like 20 minutes. But then we like went to Costco, we went to Chick-fil-A, we're just hanging out, and then get back to Rexburg. Like 2 hours had gone by. That's what I meant. I didn't mean like the trip to Idaho Falls takes 2 hours. Definitely not. So the entire time I was playing country music in my car because I like country music and Kaylin likes country music. So I was like, I want her to notice that I'm passionate about country music, probably less than she is. But so that's how we met. Our first date happened a week after we first met, because after sushi and after Chick-fil-A and Costco, I went over to their apartment again the next day because I was bored and I wanted to watch the Robin Williams movie Dead Poet Society with some friends. And I text Ashley, I'm like, hey, I want to watch Dead Poet Society, but I don't want to watch it by myself. Do you guys want to watch it with me? And she's like, oh, Kaylin has been wanting to watch that movie. So yeah, come over and watch it. So we're sitting there watching the movie, and I'm an idiot, so I try not to do anything that makes her, uncomfortable. She's gonna kill me when she finds out that this is what I'm talking about on the podcast. So later on, I'm like at their apartment again and again and again, and then I get sick. So I'm like trying to get better because I had been planning on asking her out Friday or Saturday, I think. Yeah, the following Saturday, I go boot shopping with my friend Alex, the great Stevie Wonder. And I come back and I'm just sitting down on my couch. I'm just enjoying the way the boot feels around my foot. And all of a sudden my phone dings and Kaylin had DM'd me and I was like, oh snap, son! So she texts me and says, how was boot shopping, LOL. That was the first text that I had ever received from my future wife. So I text her back and I'm like, oh, it was great. And she's like, you should send pictures of the boots. And I was like, well, would you like me to take you out for this smoothie and I can model them for you in person? Like an idiot. I thought I was slick, but turns out it worked out. And she was like, when and where? I'm down. So that was now over a year ago. And it's been... I would like to tell you that it's been nothing but rainbows and sunshine and champagne raining down from the sky. It hasn't. We started dating, and then like 5 or 6 weeks later, the semester ended. And this is when Kaylin had convinced me to do the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints youth program, FSY. So she was going to be doing that over the summer, and I didn't want just to be alone by myself during spring semester. So I dropped all my credits for spring semester, and I went home and I applied for FSY. I got in, and gosh, that was just... FSY was a wonderful experience. I don't want any of my FSY kids who are listening to this right now to think that it was like torture. It wasn't. Well, some of it was. Because I was away from my sweetheart and I was in charge of a bunch of rambunctious, testosterone, estrogen-filled youth. And you guys are my responsibility, and I'm in charge of your safety, and my blood pressure was being raised every time I didn't know where you guys were. Yeah, so that on top of everything was just rough. We did have a week off of FSY, Kaylin and I, where we took a trip to California, which is where I'm originally from. And she got to meet my parents for the first time. And we went to the beach. We went to the Oakland Temple. And that was just a wonderful experience. It was too short. But something happened during that week that kind of screwed over the following 5 weeks for me. I hurt my back going up the stairs at my house. Doing something like... I was, really tall people with long legs, they'll jump every other step on the stairs because you think they're cool. So I did that, but then all of a sudden something in the lower part of my spine, it just went, and I was like, oh! And my mom was like, Christian, what's wrong? And I'm like, I hurt my back. So I tried to get some ice on it, heat, cold pads. I went into my pool and I tried to take the weight off of it. Nothing worked. So I was literally going back to work, back to FSY the following day after this happened. And I don't know why this happened to me. So I had to drop my last 2 weeks of FSY after this accident happened. I did one more week and I was like, I can't do this anymore. It hurts to walk. It's uncomfortable sleeping. It's hard getting up out of bed. And FSY counselors, the employees of FSY, they're supposed to be super energetic and dancing and jumping and shouting and running back and forth and all this stuff. And I just couldn't do it. And I said, like, I love you guys. This is my last week, and I'm heading home so I can get better. So now I guess I want to transition to how I proposed to Kaylin. We had an overnight flight out of Salt Lake when she was done with her last 4 weeks of FSY in Oregon. So she flies back to Salt Lake. I fly out from California to meet her there in Salt Lake. And then our flight to Atlanta, Georgia, left at 11 p.m. that night. So we were just in the city, roaming around. We saw the temple there. We got to eat some delicious, like authentic. I guess it's authentically made, because it's not your Olive Garden pizza. It's like a legit Italian restaurant. So we ate some good Italian pizza, and I was just hobbling my way just back to the airport. And the plane ride, gosh, was just torture, because I was like sitting up in my chair, just trying to get comfortable, but then that would hurt. So then I leaned forward. Then that became uncomfortable. Then I had to get up out of my chair and just like hobble around the cabin in the plane, just to like stretch out. Gosh, it was just awful. But I figured this was like a trial that I have to get through so I can propose to my beautiful wife. And I literally had the ring in my backpack. Like, I couldn't fathom that the woman I'm about to propose to is sitting next to me, and the ring, like, she doesn't know I have the ring, and it's in my backpack, and she didn't bother looking in there. And I was like, oh, please, God forbid, I'm in the bathroom and she looks through my backpack. So the day I proposed, we went out for like Tex-Mex food for dinner. And I had instructed her brother and sister, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, to help me in this venture that I was about to let Kaylin embark on. So we get back from eating dinner and we walk inside her house, and her sister immediately has the Mission Impossible theme playing. Now, before I describe the rest of this, I have to go back to when we first started dating earlier that year in February. Kaylin was in a class about like, what was it, like marriage or something, or like preparation for marriage. And one of the assignments in that class was to construct a date and ask someone to go on that date for you, like to go on that date with you. So she was like, I know, a scavenger hunt. So she took me on a scavenger hunt. And the first thing that happened when I walked through the door of her apartment for this date, I don't know that she had prepared for me, Ashley walks in and she's wearing like really, like the shades were super tinted on her glasses, and the Mission Impossible theme is playing. And she hands me a 3x5 card that says, like, welcome to the scavenger hunt date. Should you accept this mission, go to the place where Ashley's age inclined. So it was just like all these clues taking me to the different places around town where Kaylin and I like first met, where our first date was, where we like to walk on campus. There's like a swing, like a front porch swing with like a little hut. Like, people who go to BYU Idaho are listening to this, you know what I'm talking about. In the Rick's Garden, there's like a little swing set where my wife and I would sit there and I would read her like a book or something. So that was the date that she had made for me. So I thought it would be a good idea to recreate this date for when I proposed to her. So she takes the clues and she like finds them in her room. She finds them in the mailbox. She finds a clue like in her her sister's truck. And then the final clue was to lead her out to the back porch, where I had told her family to go, like, before any of this had happened. So we walk outside to find the final clue, and her family is all out there, and she's like, all right, which one of you has the clue? So then her dad, my father-in-law, takes the last clue out of his shirt pocket, and it's a picture of the Atlanta, Georgia temple. And this is where Kaylin and I were eventually sealed as husband and wife. So she gets that picture in her hand. She's like, what's going on? So then she turns around, and I'm down on my knee, and my back is still killing me. So I slowly got down. I was like, and then I finally got down on one knee. So then I open up the box to the ring, and I ask her, will you marry me? And she was like, yes. And then everyone's like, woo! And we hug it out and kiss. And then we start sending all the announcements, on the Facebook and the Instagram post. And then the rest of our day from 7 to 10 p.m. in the evening was just answering phone call after phone call, just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you guys are engaged. And her uncle calling was like, Christian, good job. And I'm like, thank you, Uncle Neil. So shout out to Uncle Neil. But anyway, that was, gosh, I didn't expect this episode to be this long. And I'm sorry for all the so's and ums and uhs and likes. But this episode is long overdue. And I'm grateful for those of you who asked me, when are you putting out another episode? So here's the next one for you. And I'm super grateful for, I better get my wife to listen to this on her way home, because as soon as I'm done with this, I'm posting it. I love my wife, and she, there's nobody that I love more than my wife, and there's nobody that irritates me more than my wife. But that's one of the best lessons that I ever learned before I got married, was that marriage is not all sparkles and butterflies and rainbows and champagne raining down from the sky. And I've only been married for 2 months, but I mean, it's been harder than I thought for just 2 months of marriage, but definitely been worth it. And I'm very stoked to see what the rest of my life or the rest of our lives has in store for us. So I'll have to get her on this podcast, probably the next one or the one after that. But I better get off of this. She's about to come pick me up, because we're going to go see Dune Part 2. That movie is so confusing, but is freaking awesome. So anyway, until next time, my name is Christian Holland, and this is the Holland Impact.